Sweet Christmas. Hey everybody, I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino. Well, Marvel is back on Netflix with an all-new series, Luke Cage. On this channel, you know what happens when Netflix gives us something new to binge. Let's take a look at Season 1 of Luke Cage in an all-new installment of Chillin' Netflix. When Mike Colter showed up in Jessica Jones, I was a bit skeptical, but only because of the unknown factor. I was not really familiar with any of Colter's work. Sure, he looked the part, but could he pull it off? After a very short while in Jessica Jones, I had my answer. There was a lot that made the first season of that show great, and Colter was one of them. Now we got a chance to find out if he could carry a show on his own. For the most part, the answer is yes. I really liked that the first thing that got my attention with this show was the music. There were a lot of different influences, such as jazz, hip-hop, R&B, and others that made the score to this show amazing. There were times, especially when they were showing Luke Cage on screen, that the whole thing would feel like Shaft or something like that. A lot of scenes throughout the season would be mixed with performances at the villain's main club, which would give those scenes a unique feel each and every time because the music had a different feel every time. This next part will be a bit of a spoiler, so be warned. My favorite thing in the season involving music would be after Cage stops a robbery at a convenience store. One of the customers inside of the store happens to be the Wu-Tang Clan's Method Man. Both he and Cage kind of mark out over each other, and a bit later in the episode, Method Man is doing a radio interview about the incident and freestyles a Luke Cage theme song. I can't play it here, but if you want to hear the song, I put a link to it in the description below. One thing that sets this series apart from the others so far is that the overall tone is a positive one. You can tell that they didn't want this series to feel as dark as the others. The showrunners wanted to show that superheroes don't have to be dark and brooding to get the job done and can be a positive role model to the community. Mike Colter is still great as Luke Cage, and on a personal note, is a hell of a nice guy. He gets a chance to show that he is the right man for the job here. The character of Luke Cage has a lot of different aspects that Colter had to nail, and he did just that. Despite being amazingly strong and bulletproof, Luke Cage still has his weaknesses to go along with his strengths. Colter does a great job with all of it. When it came to the villains, here's where some of my problems with the season start to show. I liked Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth, but unfortunately I knew he was only going to be a setup villain. I would have liked the show to have done a little bit more with him. His cousin Mariah was okay, but unfortunately is a very predictable character. I really like the character of Shades for his unpredictability and cunning nature. He seems to like to play sides even against his own boss. He kind of reminded me of Madame Gao from Daredevil, in which he is more than he appears to be. My main problem when it came to the villains was that with the big baddie, Diamondback. Though he gets a pretty elaborate backstory that ties into Luke Cage's, I just found him to be really boring. When you've had some great villains on these Netflix shows, like Wilson Fisk in Daredevil or Kilgrave in Jessica Jones, you start to expect the best, and honestly, Diamondback doesn't deliver. When it came to the supporting cast, it was nice to see Rosario Dawson return as Claire Temple and get a bit of an expanded role. As many of you know, I love me some Rosario Dawson. At first I thought I had a problem with one of her character arcs, but I went back and took a look at Daredevil Season 1 and it kinda cleared it up for me. Now the character of Misty Knight kinda fell short for me. I felt that the way she was introduced kinda hurt her character in the end. They made her seem like she was going to be more important personally to Luke Cage, but changed their minds about halfway through making this season. Another problem I had with this season is that it was mostly predictable. I'm not saying that this made it unwatchable, but some more unpredictability would have helped a lot. Lastly, I think we should have been treated to at least some kind of cameo from the other shows, not counting Claire Temple, of course. Now, I'm not saying I expected the Punisher or Daredevil to show up, but a scene with Jessica Jones or even a minor character like Foggy Nelson would have helped the whole connection thing. Sure, they do tease a lot of this stuff, as well as mentions of the Avengers, but seeing is better than saying. I'm sure that they're just saving all this stuff for the Defenders, so really it's not all that bad, but remember, it's only just one guy's opinion. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you've seen here, feel free to comment, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to The Real Gino YouTube channel. Until next time, I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino.